You might think that because Gi-Hun is the main character, he'll survive and win Squid Game again. But in Season 3, there's a real chance that killing him might actually make more sense than keeping him alive. Let's take a look at why. But before diving into why Gi-Hun's death in Season 3 of Squid Game might make sense, we need to really understand who he is, where he started, and how far he's come. Because only by looking at his full story can we even begin to see why his death might actually be the right ending, not just for him, but for the entire show. Gi-Hun, whose full name is Seong Gi-Hun, wasn't always the broken, serious man we saw at the end of Season 2. Back in Season 1, he was introduced as a struggling man living in Sangmun-dong. He had once worked at a car factory and seemed to live a fairly normal life, but everything changed when he got laid off. After that, things started going downhill fast. He tried running a couple of small businesses, but both failed. That left him buried in massive debt and being chased by dangerous loan sharks who didn't hesitate to threaten violence. He was also divorced and had lost custody of his daughter, Gi-Hun. She was the only person that gave his life any meaning, and even she was slipping away. Her mom had remarried, and her family was planning to move to the United States, cutting Gi-Hun out of her life completely. To survive, he worked as a chauffeur, barely making ends meet. His life hit a new low when he was forced to steal his mother's debit card to gamble and lost it all. That was when he met the mysterious salesman in the subway station, who offered him a chance to turn his life around by playing a simple children's game, Dakji. Of course, like we now know, this was just the recruiter for the Squid Game. Gi-Hun accepts the offer to join the game, mostly out of desperation. At this point, he's not thinking about morals or danger. He just wants money to pay for his daughter's future and his mother's hospital treatment. He doesn't really know what he's signing up for, and like most players, he's horrified once he sees the deadly nature of the games. But here's where we see what makes Gi-Hun special. Even in that terrifying place where people are dying all around him, he still tries to be kind, positive, and innocent. He builds bonds with people like Ali Abdul, Kang Se-byuk, and Oh Il-nam. And of course, there's Sang-woo, his childhood friend. As the games go on, we watch Gi-Hun go through something very few people ever could, surviving death after death, watching people betray each other, lie, manipulate, and kill to stay alive. Gi-Hun watched his new friend Ali die in the most heartbreaking betrayal by Sang-woo. He saw Oh Il-nam, who, in the end of Season 1, we learned that he was the game's creator, die in the marble game. Then Se-byuk, one of the few good people left, was stabbed and left to bleed out by Sang-woo. And finally, Gi-Hun had to watch Sang-woo, his lifelong friend, kill himself in the final round. It destroyed him. That's not an exaggeration, it really broke him. Even after winning, he didn't touch the prize money at all. His mother had already passed away, and he was left alone with blood money, guilt, and trauma. In many ways, the real Gi-Hun died after the games. The man we knew in Season 1 never came back. Season 2 shows us a completely different Gi-Hun. He no longer smiles. He seems to have no real reason to live, but something drives him forward. Revenge, justice, and the desire to end the games once and for all. He gives money to the people who helped him find the salesman after years of searching. Then, after tracking down the mysterious recruiter again, he chooses to go back and stop the games. In Season 2, Gi-Hun is no longer just a survivor, he becomes a leader. He starts making moves, forming alliances, and even planning a full rebellion against the guards. And unlike before, he's now willing to kill if it means stopping the people behind all of this. This isn't the happy-go-lucky Gi-Hun we met in Season 1. This is someone who's lost everything and is holding onto one last mission. And yet, even in all that darkness, he still doesn't kill players. He still tries to protect innocent people. That part of him hasn't changed. It's what keeps him from becoming just another part of the system. Now, here's the big question. If Gi-Hun has come this far, if he's survived everything and is the main character of the series, why would it make sense for him to die in Season 3? Well, there are a few major reasons. This isn't a superhero show, it's not a feel-good story. Squid Game has always been about showing how cruel systems exploit desperate people. It's about capitalism, debt, and survival. The show doesn't pull its punches, and it doesn't reward kindness. Even in Season 1, the kindest characters, Ali, Se-byuk, died. The winner, Gi-Hun, who had to lose his humanity along the way. Director Hwang Dong-hyuk himself said that Season 3 wouldn't have a purely happy or sad ending. It would be something neutral. That already tells us it won't be a perfect victory. Gi-Hun getting to live happily ever after doesn't match the tone of the series. But Gi-Hun sacrificing himself to end the games? That does. If you look at it from a storytelling point of view, Gi-Hun's arc feels like it's coming to an end. In Season 1, he was the victim. In Season 2, he became the rebel. In Season 3, he could become the savior, the one who finally puts a stop to the games. But stopping the games might require a final sacrifice. After all he's seen and done, it's hard to imagine Gi-Hun walking away and going back to normal life. He has no family left, his daughter barely knows him, and his only purpose now is to end the cycle of violence. If he achieves that, what is there left for him? Gi-Hun dying could feel like a relief for him and even for some of the audience. A tragic yet fitting end. Killing off the main character of the series in Season 3 would shock audiences, but it wouldn't feel forced. In fact, it could be the one thing that truly ends the games. If Gi-Hun were to sacrifice himself, it could inspire other players to rise up. It could finally expose the people behind it all. His death wouldn't be meaningless, it would be the final move to bring down the system. That's way more powerful than just letting him live and walk away. Think about it. Gi-Hun dying, but the games finally ending would give the story that exact tone. It would be bittersweet, sad, but with a purpose. He might not survive, but his mission would. There are a few ways this could play out. Sacrifice? Gi-Hun could stay behind in an explosion or trigger some kind of trap that kills the VIPs or shuts down the operation, dying in the process. Exposing the truth. He could leak everything to the outside world but get killed before he sees the results. Suicide. This is more unlikely but also possible. If he feels like there's no hope left and he's done everything he could, he might choose to end it on his own terms. Killed by the system. Maybe he gets close to winning again only to be betrayed or killed like all the others before him. That would show that the system still wins. In the end, Gi-Hun's death wouldn't be pointless. It would be the final piece of his story. A man who lost everything, but used his pain to try and protect others. A man who started off desperate and selfish, but died with purpose and strength. And honestly, that's more meaningful than him surviving just because he's the main character. This isn't Disney, this is Squid Game. A brutal, unforgiving world. Gi-Hun dying could be exactly what gives the show its final emotional punch. One of the most popular fan theories out there is that Gi-Hun will become the new frontman in Season 3. And while it's definitely an interesting theory, I honestly don't think it makes much sense when you really think about who Gi-Hun is and what he's been through. Gi-Hun's entire journey since winning the games has been about stopping them. He saw people die right in front of him. His friends, strangers, and even his childhood best friend. The guilt and trauma have completely changed him. So why would someone like that suddenly decide to become the person in charge of the games? If anything, Gi-Hun wants to destroy the games, not run them. He's angry, he's heartbroken, he wants to bring down the people behind all of it, not help them. The only way I could see this theory working is if he's somehow forced into the role, and even then, he wouldn't follow orders. He wouldn't sit there and let more people die. I know some people bring up that interview where Lee Jung-jae, the actor who plays Gi-Hun, pressed both O and X when he was asked if he becomes the frontman. But let's be honest, actors love messing with fans, and mostly the director. These kinds of spoilers are meant to confuse us and keep us guessing. That doesn't mean they confirm anything. At most, I could see Gi-Hun pretending to go along with it just to destroy the system from the inside. But becoming the actual frontman, the leader of the games, that goes completely against everything he's become. So yeah, I think this theory is fun to talk about, but it's probably not going to happen. Now you might be asking, so if Gi-Hun does end up dying, who survives? That's the big question. In my opinion, some of the finalists is starting to feel pretty clear, at least for me. Of course, there could be more than just a few left at the end, maybe even 5 or more, but if I had to pick the ones who were almost guaranteed to make it to the final stage, I'd say Gi-Hun, obviously, Myung-gi, and Hyunju. These 3 are really strong, mentally and physically, and their development clearly sets them up for big roles in Season 3's conclusion. Now, if Gi-Hun ends up dying, but someone like Hyunju or Myung-gi survives, and especially if the games are finally brought to an end, I think that would be the kind of neutral ending the director has been hinting at. Not fully happy, not fully tragic, just bittersweet. Gi-Hun's death would carry meaning. It wouldn't be for nothing. And if the surviving characters carry on his legacy by ending the games, that's the kind of conclusion that would feel powerful, emotional, and realistic. So what do you think? Will Gi-Hun really die at the end of Season 3? Or do you believe he'll survive one more time? Let us know in the comments. This is going to be one of the most intense endings in any Netflix series, and we want to hear your theories. Subscriber Gramps will win Squid Game Season 3.